If you've got an interview coming up and you're looking for a beginner's interview guide, this is for you. And it is backed by science. Every time somebody books a one-to-one session with me, I ask them to fill out a survey so that I can have as much information as possible before I jump on a Zoom call with them. I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people don't fill out the survey, but of those that did, 139 people filled out a survey specifically for interview preparation. So in this video, I want to go through the 4 big ideas or big things that people were nervous about in terms of their interview prep, how you can deal with those, and watch this video. You probably won't have to give me money, so you'll be happy. I'll be a little bit sad, but I'll get over it. And stick around to the end of the video, because I think item 4 is the one that people often think is the big thing, but it's not actually, based upon those 139 people in my scientific study. So first of all, most people, 61 people, 44%, booked a session with me and filled out the survey for company and role specific prep. Here's a couple of responses. I'm interviewing for service delivery manager role on Deloitte. I've got a HireVue interview at PwC. I want to be able to ace my HireVue interview with JP Morgan Chase. I want to apply for forensic data analytics graduate program at EY. So people were pretty specific. They're like, okay, I've got this specific role at this specific company. How do I prepare specifically? So when you're thinking about getting ready for an interview, there's a couple of things that I always say to people. It's covered in my courses in great detail, which is, first of all, get your 5 fast facts about the company. Now, you can use ChatGPT if it's a publicly traded company, download the most recent annual report and pull out some facts. What facts they are doesn't really matter. Preferably, they're going to be facts that you actually care about and are interested in, because if you sound bored, then you're going to be boring, right? And the next thing to think about is that generally, first round interviews, I would say 80 to 85% plus are video interviews, though I think this will go down, interestingly, because it's easier and easier to gain these types of interviews. And we're already seeing a resurgence of telephone and even face-to-face interviews to feel that real, human contact and stop people gaming the system using AI. So you're pretty much going to get, why do you want to work for this company? Why do you want to do this role? Some type of competency question and maybe a commercial awareness question. And what we really want to think about here is, okay, so I know why I want to work for the company and I've got some good information. Have a copy of the job description to hand. Now, I was talking to somebody about this the other day and they're like, oh, my job description for such and such a company is not particularly helpful. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, go and use Prospects, go and Google around for a good job description, where you can get a really good idea of what you're going to be doing and what are the skills that are required. Worst comes to the worst, just use ChatGPT or Gemini. I'm agnostic. I'm not particularly promoting any AI model, because from that you can do a couple of things which are really quite interesting. First of all, you can give a really effective answer to why this role, which is what are you going to be doing and what are the 2 or 3 skills that you have that make you really good at the job, with proof, not just a long list of skills, right? Because otherwise you're like that kid on the playground who would always boast about the fact that he's a black belt and his dad's Bruce Lee and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, okay, I want a photo. So give proof. Don't be the kid that lies. And that gives you the answer to, why do you want to do this job? Just in case you were wondering, if you click the link down below for our courses, right on the home page, you can download a 43-page ebook where I cover all of this stuff in depth. It's completely free and it's a copyable Google Doc, so you can go and get it yourself. Just so you know, it's got loads of worksheets and stuff like that. Anyway. The next thing, which I'll probably talk about in point 2, is how to answer competency questions. And thirdly, a piece of commercial awareness, preferably related to the role, at the very least related to the industry. Definitely micro, not macro. So I was dealing with this with somebody recently. People love talking about like global interest rates, inflation, the Fed. I mean, that's cool, but dude, you got 2 minutes. I mean, can you really talk about that convincingly? If you can, excellent. Most people can't, just so you know, in case you were wondering. So pick something that's sort of small, maybe based around a company in your country, and also that's just easy for you to explain and you're interested in. Really importantly, interested people are interesting. Boring people are boring. So if you're giving what you believe is a good answer, but it's really boring, make it interesting. Use your own language. Don't like corporate speak it up mumbo jumbo, because it comes across as really dead and flat. Quick side note about the why this job question and why it's important. A lot of times, and we'll take HireVue as an example, how do video interviews work? One way or asynchronous interviews? Well, basically the way that they work is that they will take your words, they will transcribe it into text, and they will analyze the text in relation to the job description. So the more that you're talking about the job and the job description, the more it's like, oh, look, here's all of these words. You're a super good match. You should go to the next round, just so you know. Number 2. So a lot of people, 27%, 38 people from my in-depth scientific study, struggle to structure answers. So they're like, how to prepare, I'm stuck, I don't know how to structure stuff, I ramble, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, we've already talked about why this role, 5 fast facts, why this company, 5 fast facts, why this role, what will you do, what makes you good at it. So for answering competency questions, something that I use, this is a system that I've used for a couple of years. It's in my 2025 No BS interview course. It's just called Star Stories. Star Stories are actually pretty simple. What it is that people are constantly trying to think of like 27 different examples for the 27 different competency questions that they could get asked. And it just gets super confusing. It's really hard to remember. You know, after you get past like 6, 7, 8 examples, you're really struggling. Like there was a time when I went to get some milk, or I delivered newspapers when I was 14, and just like the answers are just rubbish, right? So with Star Stories, I try to think more about shifting the focus from the question to the story, because one story can be used to answer many different questions. Most people know what teamwork is, resolving conflicts, leadership, all of that kind of stuff. What they struggle with is the story. So people very consistently look at stuff back to front. I'm like, no, concentrate on the stories. Because also, if you're telling good stories and stories that you like, say it with me, interesting people are interested. So you're going to be like, oh, yeah, there's a story that makes me really look good. Let me tell you more about myself. A common question that I get with this is people are like, oh, but does it matter if I repeat my story? Yeah, of course it doesn't matter. I mean, if you've just got one story and you keep telling it over and over again like you're some sort of weird story robot, then of course it's going to matter because it's weird. But you know that. Generally, I ask people to sort of put together 5 stories and quantify it. Be specific, drag out the data. You know, in the course, I include the worksheets and some walkthroughs and stuff like that. But honestly, you kind of get the gist. Right? It's not that complicated to do. It's always good to have one negative example, you know, time that you made a mistake, missed a deadline, got some feedback, that kind of thing. And then you're pretty much done for sort of 80 to 90%. When you're telling competency questions and using STAR, situation, task, action, result, I know everybody's always coming up with new systems and they're like, no, it's SUDS or PASS or PLOP or whatever. It's all the same stuff, just so you know, right? The reason why people invent new systems is because they want to sell you stuff. I should know. I sell you stuff. So that's just like the honest thing. It's a classic consulting trick, right? All consulting firms have got their special framework that they use. Why? Because it's just marketing. It's just branding, right? So with STAR, what you really want to think about is like, where were you? What were you doing? And then the vast amount of emphasis on the action, and be really specific. You know, a teamwork activity at university. Who were you working with? What were their names? How many calls did you make? How long did you spend doing this? Like, the specifics make the story. When people are like, I was working with 7 colleagues and we had to complete a project, and just like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm dying of boredom. Please stop talking. Just be specific. Don't think about it like you're talking to an interviewer. Think about it like you're talking to your mum and dad. So you're talking to somebody, so you're not being really informal, but you're kind of telling a story, right? And often what I say to people, particularly if you're a professional watching this, and you're like, God, I really struggle to do that. I kind of talk too long. I don't say enough. Teach. Teach, don't tell. If you're good at teaching people, that's a good way. So imagine you're teaching someone to do the thing that you just did. That's going to be really helpful for you. Number 3 in my scientific study, 9%, 13 people just were basically like, dude, I don't know what to expect. So thinking about what to expect, generally interviews are pretty formulaic. If I'm going to be honest with you, I mean, I've had thousands of one-to-ones, right? And I'm rarely surprised by an interview. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that was going to happen. It's going to be motivational plus competency questions. It might be strength. It might be some video SJT questions. It might be a written case study. It might be a written exercise. Just go and do your homework. Go to Glassdoor. I mean, that's what I do. You just go to Glassdoor. Go somewhere where you can get data that is as recent as possible. Glassdoor, Student Room, Reddit. Just get the general gist of it. I see a lot of people going down rabbit holes. They're like, oh my God, Fred, can you send me the specific questions that you were asked? Because I'm really struggling. No, stop being so lazy. Go and do it yourself. Also, if you know and understand the job description, you can predict the questions. The questions are going to be related to the job description, right? So the things that they're talking about, take the job description, put it into ChatGPT and say, hey Chat, based upon this job description, what questions do you think I could get asked? And really try to limit your pool of questions to no more than 15, ideally 10. The reason being is the more that you practice, the more mocks that you do, the better that you're going to get. And if you can get feedback, even better. You know, you could book a one-to-one call with me, or just record yourself like this and just watch yourself back and be like, damn, that's not good. Me no good there, right? That's a really good way of doing things. A lot of people miss that. Just recording and watching yourself back is a really effective means to get better and to spot what you're doing wrong. But this is a good way for you to begin to predict questions. What you shouldn't get into the habit of doing, which loads of people do, is to spend like 90% of their time preparing, like researching scripts, and very little of your time speaking. I always say to people in interviews, what do you do in an interview? And they're like, well, I speak and then another person speaks or a computer records me. It's like, how much time have you been speaking? And they're like, not a lot. So you want to maximize the amount of time that you're talking, practicing, coming across questions that you don't understand and sort of answering them on the fly. That's what's really useful. Now, number 4, which I think commonly people present as the biggest thing, is actually not the biggest thing, which is confidence and nerves. Only 6% of people in my highly scientific study, 8 people specifically said about nerves. Tips to overcome nerves, lack of confidence and anxiety. I'm nervous. I haven't interviewed in a long time. I sometimes blab on longer. You know, I'm just getting nervous. I'll give you a tip for this, right? You're nervous because you ain't had enough practice. If you practice more, if you prepare more, you're going to be less nervous, right? If you really don't know how to do that, then book a session with me. Go and buy a course. Or just do your homework. Now, generally for interview preparation, say you've got 5 days, I reckon you want to put in a solid hour a day. 30 minutes to an hour a day. And if you're sitting there going, oh my God, that's a lot. Like, I've got loads of stuff to do. Do you like being unemployed? That's often my response when people push back on work volume. They're like, oh, well, I couldn't possibly do that. I mean, no, that's fine. Enjoy unemployment. I'm sure that you don't need money. That's absolutely fine. Because don't complain that there's a volume of work that needs to be done. a really common thing that I see with people, particularly smart young people, is they just get caught out because they're too arrogant, right? And they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Like, cool, man. I'm gonna, and then they just, bam, they get crushed because it's reality. There are lots of people out there who want to get jobs and they're willing to work harder than you. Hard work beats talent every day of the week. Hard work and talent beats everybody else, but you have to do the hard work. And if you're not talented, if you struggle with conversation, if you often ramble or get nervous, this is a good indication for you that you need to double down and do some more work. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Best of luck with your interview. Please drop me a comment below. Let me know what you liked, where you are in your interview. I love reading people's comments. Some comments are nice, some comments are nasty. I love them all. I heart them all. No, I'm joking. The nasty comments I just delete. But they are really funny. So let me know where you're at, what you're doing, and good luck.